This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and now for something a little different now. 5, 10 years ago, it might not have been so different when UMPCs or ultra mobile PCs were a thing before big screen smartphones came out and kind of replaced them along with tablets. This is the GPD Pocket Mini PC. It's a full Windows 10 baby laptop, 7 inches. This is like for, baby Groot to use. You just can't resist making little jokes about it. 7 inches, better, full HD display, Intel Cherry Trail quad-core CPU inside, 8 gigs of RAM, 128 gig SSD. This is insane, isn't it? We're going to look at it now. Well, here's an odd comparison. 15.6-inch thin and light gaming laptop by MSI, 18.5 millimeters thick. Here we have our little GPD Pocket Mini laptop, also 18.5 millimeters thick. Voila. And on top of it, a Google Pixel XL, which is the device most likely to dethrone these little pocket PCs. But you know what? There are times when you do need Windows. You're using specific Windows applications that your business requires, for example. You actually still need Adobe Flash Player sometimes. Well, Windows can do it. Those sorts of things. So who's GPD? That stands for Gamepad Digital. Unsurprisingly, they are an outfit out of Taiwan and also Shenzhen. And they actually had a successful Indiegogo campaign for this. They had done a pocket computer that was the Win model, they called it, and that had gamepad controllers here as well as a small keyboard. So they decided to make something more mainstream or laptop-like this time, and they're fond of comparing it to the MacBook Air. And it's pretty clear that their aluminum chassis on the outside here and the color they chose really do go after, well, the look of the MacBook Air, only on a very miniaturized kind of, well, way. It's surprisingly pretty good quality, though. Now, ours came from GearBest, and we work with them a lot for Chinese import products, and the Indiegogo campaign's over for it now. You could also get it on Amazon, but GearBest does sell for almost $100 cheaper if you are interested in it. So it's $509 on GearBest right now. And you get a sturdy metal chassis, surprisingly enough. A nice IPS display, reasonably bright. You've got multimedia keys for controlling volume and for your brightness here on the top panel of it. And it's 1920 by 1200, so it's actually a little taller than your usual aspect ratio. That's 16 by 10 aspect ratio. It's a touchscreen. It would be perfect if it supported an active digital pen, like an N-Trig digitizer or Wacom, but alas, it doesn't. Mostly because when you have Windows 10 squeezed into 7 inches here, the touch targets once again become difficult. Now, Windows 10 may have somewhat optimized for touch, but not at this scale. So I wish sometimes for a little more fine pointy thing. But all is not lost because we have the little eraser stick pointer right over here, and these two buttons are your right click and your left click buttons right there below the space bar, and it actually works pretty decently. It doesn't support tapping on this directly to function as a tap, so you do need to use these keys. The keyboard itself is surprisingly good. Granted, it is small, right? But they did make the keys about as big as they could. It's a nice semi-matte finish, so it's not too slippery, but it's not too grippy either. And the amount of travel and click here is like 1.4 millimeters of travel and very positive click. It feels like a high-end keyboard. It's pretty surprising. Even the power button that's embedded on the keyboard has a nice, definite, you feel it when it clicks to go on and off. Ports are going to be limited on something like this, yeah? So we have one USB-A port, 3.0 port. We have USB-C, which is also used for charging, and it comes with an itsy-bitsy little charger, smartphone size. And a smartphone charger works. I've used the Pixel and the Galaxy S8 chargers with this, and it's fine. Also, you can use it as a USB port. If you get a dongle adapter, you can use it as a second USB port when you don't need to charge. There's a micro HDMI port and a headphone jack on it. So, yeah, it's actually a little less port constrained than a 12-inch MacBook, ironic as that is. This does have a fan, and not unlike some other laptops, it's pretty hard to see, but it sucks in air from the hinge area and it exhausts it from this vent on the side. We'll show you the internals, and you can see the itsy-witsy little fan that's inside. Now, when you're charging, because charging generates heat as well, you will hear the fan, and it's a little it's a teeny fan, so it can't make that much noise, but it's almost surprising when something this size does go whoosh. And that's about all that it can do. If you're making it work hard, you'll also hear the fan. The first day or two when you're doing Windows updates and stuff, you'll hear the fan, but not so much after that. So this runs Windows 10 Home Edition, and it was set up, but we didn't have to, put an English copy of Windows on it. It was set up ready to handle US English, which was just fine with me. Windows 10 64-bit is a 64-bit CPU inside, 14 nanometer process. This is a Intel Cherry Trail CPU, and you can see the specs on screen there. 8 gigs of RAM, which is amazing for something this small, right? And 128 gigs of storage. It's flash storage, eMMC style, which means, you know, the permanently installed micro SD card sort of technology. That's what Intel Atom supports. It doesn't do the SATA 6, let alone PCIe SSDs that you'll find in full-blown, more expensive laptops. The speakers on this are surprisingly good, and I'll show you it playing some Windows Store games and you get the idea of it, but it's quite loud and pretty full sounding. £1.1, which is just under 1/2 of a kilogram. So yes, it will pull your pockets down a little bit, but it will fit in your pocket. That's pretty darn impressive. They claim 12 hours of battery life. That seems optimistic to me. If you're just surfing the web casually and not playing Adobe Flash Player much, yeah, it's more like 8 hours or so battery life in our test. It's a 7,000 milliamp battery. Most of what's inside is battery. The screen is glossy. It's protected by Gorilla Glass 3. You know, all in all, the specs are pretty darned amazing. What's going to be a challenge here is GPD is, you know, if you visit their website, you'll see support and communications. They do have a forum. It's not always the most clear and the best. They have BIOS updates and things like that, but they tend to host a lot of their software on Mega out of New Zealand, you know, Kim.com's file sharing site. That doesn't exude that kind of corporate confidence that you would get if you were buying a Dell or something like that. But hey, it's not like you have many choices if you want to buy something this teeny that does run Windows. How's performance on it? It has plenty of RAM for multitasking, but you know, it's Intel quad-core Atom CPU. Not the sharpest knife in the drawer. Windows updates seem to take about twice as long as they would normally, you know, on a fast $1,000 Ultrabook, and that's, I suppose, fair enough. It's fine for web browsing, for MS Office, for light database access kind of work. You can even do some photo editing on this, to be honest. Just don't expect it to be the brightest of multitaskers, because the CPU isn't super duper powerful. But the fact that it can run actual real Photoshop is kind of amazing and has its uses for those of you who are photographers in the field and you actually prefer to use Lightroom or Photoshop to triage your photographs, that sort of thing. It has dual band Wi-Fi 802.11ac. That's a Broadcom unit inside, and Bluetooth 4.1. If you need 4G LTE, you're going to have to use a MiFi, the mobile hotspot on your phone, or a USB LTE dongle adapter. Well, just like a regular laptop, you can actually open this one up. It's not sealed or anything like that. Teeny, teeny, teeny little Phillips head screws. I mean, like, be careful. You're going to lose those if you're not too careful. Requires a jeweler-style screwdriver. It's small, but you know, you can do that. So you just unscrew the screws. Genuine metal. There it is. And here's the internals. Look at that baby fan. Isn't that cute? And we've got our copper heatsink over here, obviously over with would be the CPU. Everything is soldered on board here pretty much. This is the Wi-Fi card with the cable lines connecting to it. So there's nothing to upgrade here other than you could replace the battery if you needed to. So after almost a 10-year hiatus, the joke is back again. Is that a PC in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me? A 7-inch full-fledged Windows miniature laptop right here with a surprisingly tolerable keyboard, a touchscreen, a very nice display. You know, netbook level of performance. This is Intel Atom CPU inside. About how much can you ask for? The question really is, and I'd love to see your comments, how useful do you think this is anymore? In the old days, people dreamed of this because mobile computing was still pretty much PC-based. Now we have our smartphones, we have our tablets. There's a lot of things we can do with those instead. So do you think that this is a useful product? I'd like to hear. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more useful and sometimes wacky reviews, and thumbs up if you like this vid.